That's neat. All right, well, good morning. We're going to go ahead and get started. I was trying to make today a little bit shorter because I know it is the end of the quarter and somehow it got to be October super fast. So far in this series, this is the third one of three parts. Doesn't matter if you're at the other two or not, but we talked about AI basics at the beginning. Then we talked about how you can use it kind of for workflow and in your own world. And today we're going to talk a little bit more about how you can use it in the classroom, for the classroom, or with students directly. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so class building, a cool thing you can do using generative AI. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to just give a bunch of ideas and then I'll switch over to live. So you will, of course, all of you are on some sort of device right now, being able to see the Zoom. So you're going to need to have a browser open. We're going to look at Gemini and we're going to look at Chat GPT and then one or two other sites that in the last 48 hours came onto my radar that I think would be worth looking into. Okay, so icebreakers. You can get story starters for icebreakers or for class if you're giving kids a writing prompt. It's a great tool to use as a brainstorming partner, as if you were sitting, having coffee with a coworker and you were just bouncing ideas off of each other. You can use generative AI in that exact same way. And so it'd be great for icebreakers in a class. We're done with a quarter now. It might be good to circle back and do some class building after the fast and furious beginning of the school year. You can also use it to generate images. When you're using free generative AI, it generally doesn't give you too many runs at that. You run out of options to do that, but it'll let you generate a couple of images along the way, which might be kind of fun to do with students. A really cool way that I'm seeing this be used is for grouping. So I was just trying it yesterday and today, and it works okay. I'm trying to really prompt it now to get it to spit out the actual groups for me, but it will give you ideas on grouping. There is a staff member, and I'm going to reach out to this person to find out how they got it to work better, but they were able to just load a spreadsheet of student responses, like they're getting to know you responses, and then give it some ideas like there are 7 lab tables and I want groups of 4. Please group these students to increase conversation. And so it can read the spreadsheet and see their responses and then put kids in groups based on that to get kids really talking. So I thought that was cool. I'll show you my attempts at getting it done. I was trying to do it fast this morning and it was telling me I ran out of data. So we'll have to see how that works out for people, but I thought that was a cool way to use it. Another thing I think we should be talking about with students in the classroom are all of these, ethical considerations around AI, like the biases. You could have students go ahead and put in a prompt of some sort and then have a class discussion about the output and try to find all of the biases that are just baked into the answers. I think it's good to have them really talking about those types of things. For sure, you want to be talking about data privacy and reminding students not to put personal data into generative AI, and also for our own selves, right? We want to keep student data out. I'll say that with a little, except for if you're using Gemini and you're logged in with your district credentials, you don't have to be as worried because we're already a Google district. Google already has access to all of our things. We put everything in Drive. We put everything in Gmail. So it's okay to use Gemini as long as you're logged in with 214 freely and not worry too much about it. But if you are at a different site, any other one like ChatGPT or any one of the hundreds of other ones that are out there, you want to make sure that you're only using student first names and no other, personal data. I think it's a great idea to talk, obviously, about academic integrity with kids. Are kids going to cheat? Sure. Have kids been cheating since the beginning of time? Obviously. So this is just another hurdle around academic integrity. And I think messaging is key. Not every kid is going to feel comfortable cheating. And so I think if we continue to message about what is okay in your class and what is not okay in your class. That's going to really go miles with kids. And then digital citizenship, great thing to be discussing with students in the class about misinformation, digital literacy. I'm going to share later with you a link to what they're doing in Finland. They're actually teaching their entire citizens, everyone who lives in Finland about fake news. So from kindergarten all the way to the elderly. They're talking about how to spot fake news. They're practicing. They're looking at things online and having kids discuss biases. And I think this is a great thing that we could follow suit with. So, another way that you could use this in class is for interviews or debates. So if you have a lesson in your class where you would like students to interview someone or have thought of an activity at some point where you were like, oh, it'd be so cool if we could like go out in the community and, interview the mayor or whatever. AI will do that. It will be a pretend mayor for you. It will be, you can interview Isaac Newton, I showed last time. I could show that again today. You can have a debate with it. You could ask it to take a side of an issue and then debate with the generative AI back and forth. So I thought that was a really interesting way that there are some staff in the district that are having kids go on and do that an interview. I had a teacher at Elk Grove who was having her students create a blog, and the blog was going to have something to do with an expert in the area of the course that she was teaching, which I think was on like finance or something like that. And so like they're going to go back and forth with an expert in that field and create a blog post. So interesting ways for kids to be using generative AI. And then lastly, before we get out and try it a little bit, and I can show you a few things, is for fun. Like I was saying, you have a role play conversation with someone historical. You can have kids generate all kinds of trivia and games. So you could use it that way too for like review. I'm sure we've all sat down and put together a Kahoot when Kahoot was new. I feel like the entire district was using Kahoot. And sometimes it's hard to come up with those questions, right? And so this is like a great way to come up with just some fun review game questions. You could even have students do that. You can have them generate jokes. Like if you wanted to have some jokes that were content specific, that might be kind of fun. It'll produce memes if you were trying to look for students to have something around a meme that might be fun. It'll generate recipes, that sort of thing. And then like a virtual travel guide. So if you're doing anything in social studies or history or really any subject, and you're talking about a specific region on the globe, you could have students use generative AI to come up with a travel guide. And it doesn't have to be a travel guide for 2024. It could be a travel guide, from the 1600s or something like that. A nice little jumping off point. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and try it. So if you would open up, let me hold on one second. I put it on a different screen here. There it is. Okay, so open up a generative AI tool and feel free to unmute, by the way, and chime in. Okay, so the first thing that I wanted to show you today was this thing that I saw. It's only been about 48 hours, I think, since I have was made aware of this site. It's called Class Companion. And this would be for anybody who is having students write anything. It gives instant feedback on their writing. And also you can log in with your 214 credentials and it will even roster your classes. We were struggling with the rostering part a little bit the other day when I was at Elk Grove and then at Hersey, we were trying it and staff found that it was easier to just create your own class and then invite students with a link. You can just send them a little code by adding students, invite via email. But let me show you what this does real quick. As soon as it moves back. What you can do is you can load in a question and a rubric. For example, here is a AP history question. And they put in, this is all just a demo thing here, evaluate to the extent to which technological advances changed the development of the United States from 1865 to 1898. So that was the teacher's question. And then the teacher put in a rubric for it. And the rubric had several pieces. Those of us who've been, teaching a while have tons and tons of rubrics, right, to pull from. Or you could have generative AI make you a rubric, or actually this site will make you a rubric as well. And so you can see here's the rubric that they put in. Some context, some analysis, some evidence. And then the student answers the question and it gives amazing feedback. So let's look at Ron Weasley. I think it's cute that they used Harry Potter. And we can look at the feedback that Ron got, and it's live so that you don't have to wait for the student to write it, and then they don't have to wait for you to read it and give the feedback. This is great for formative feedback on reading. So you can see there's some strengths, some areas of growth, and it does do things like ask, it'll tell the kid about spelling and grammar, which, whatever, Google Docs does that. But this I thought was really neat. Need for more detailed and comprehensive analysis of demographic patterns. And then it tells the kid what they did well, but then it also says to improve your answer. And it really picks apart the writing. So that was one thing that I wanted to show you. There are several staff in the district that are using this. There are preloaded AP questions in here as well, which I thought was interesting. And so something that you might want to check out on your own. Okay, the other thing, let's take a look at a few of the prompts that I did. So I did a live Q&A with Newton. I showed this last time for those of you that were here. I said, I'm a physics teacher. I want to provide my high school junior students with some history about Isaac Newton, and I want them to know what he contributed, but also a little bit about the personal life. And then I had forgotten to put in my prompt, can we do this live? I ask you questions and you respond. And so then I ask a question, they responded. Very cute, the way that the Gen AI, pretends like they're from the 1600s. And I just kept asking questions all the way along. The other one I tried over here in Gemini is some engaging attendance ideas. I said, what are some fun and creative ways to take attendance? I've been using magnets. I pose a question and it's either content related or trivia. And when kids enter the room, they take the magnet and they place it in the appropriate place, etc. And so generative AI came up with some other ideas like finding your match, give them some terms, give one kid the term and a different kid the definition, and they have to find each other. I thought that was interesting. An equation scramble, print jumbled famous equations and they have to unscramble it. Would you rather picture this? Things that probably we have done, but cool to see some different ideas. And I said, what about things that are quick? High five, hello, fist bump facts. Did you know things, emoji check-ins, color coding, mystery objects, things like that. And then I talked about gamifying, what are some ways that I can gamify or encourage students to participate in a study group prior to a test? I always had a hard time having kids reach out to each other, and maybe even just use the Schoology update feed to reach out to each other for help. And so it was great. It generated a whole different list here of gamification strategies, points, badges, quests, leaderboards, all sorts of things. It gave me a giant list of things that I could do with kids to gamify. Okay, before we go much quicker, wondering what all of you have been doing in class with kids. So in the chat, or you can unmute. I am just curious here. Get rid of the screen over here. Um, have you used Gen AI with kids? Like, have you had them go onto Chat GPT or something like this? Oh, oops. Anyone? See what we got? No, not yet. Okay. So if you, thank you. Used it myself, not with kids, not with kids. Okay. And I think that's fair pretty much for the whole district is what I'm hearing is that mostly staff are using it for themselves. Some staff are using it with kids. It's worth saying out loud that generative AI for open AI, which is Chat GPT, is 13 and up. So it's okay to use Chat GPT with kids in the classroom. Technically, Google Gemini is 18. So really, if you're going to, you would have them use chat and you would have them log in with their district credentials when they're using it that way. I was in a CS class the other day with kids and they were using generative AI quite a bit, actually. Um, and so I think it just depends on the teacher, but that's great. I didn't prepare a whole lot else here for today. I was hoping that you would ask questions or try some things live or let me know, what you need or if you wanted to look back at some of the things we did in prior weeks. Yeah, so Isabel?
Yeah, I had this question in the chat. Is Class Companion okay? I'm really, like I'm curious to know more about that because I think I could use that in class, and I haven't done anything interactive. That's what I was saying, that it's been only like from me. But
Right.
if I could do something interactive with them, like, like the interview that you mentioned, but the interview is more like Gemini, right? And then, but you mentioned Class Companion. Is that okay to use?
Yes.
So,
Yeah,
okay.
for sure. It is it's SOPA approved. Kids can log in with their District 214. You can log in and it'll actually pull from the Infinite Campus rosters, which is great. So it'll roster your classes for you if you want in Class Companion. What I have noticed in the very little bit that I've known about it in just the last 2 days is that staff are saying it's easier for them to just give kids the code because it's not giving them a lot of control over the rostering. It's like giving them all of their classes instead of like just the one they
Okay.
want to use. And
Okay.
so they're just, and I don't know all the nuance of that because I just learned about it.
Right.
So they're finding it's easier to just give the kids it's an easy code and it just puts them right in your class.
Yeah. A
So
little bit like Class Kick, right? Like just like,
it's live
the
and you
thing.
can see
Yeah.
it and kids get instant feedback. And I
Okay.
know I was sitting with a couple AP teachers and then just some content too, teachers that they just love it because
Mhm.
and they were saying the feedback's pretty good. They were trying it as
Nice.
students. So yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, so Class Companion's great.
Hmm.
Anyone else? I'm happy to stick around and work with you, or you're welcome to go. We can go down the rabbit hole of whatever you want to look at and try. And if not, have a good day, and I'll see you soon.